Welcome to the Swine Time Podcast here at Pipestone. I'm your host, Spencer Wayne. I'm one of the staff veterinarians here at Pipestone. I'm one of the owners of Pipestone Holdings. I got one of my partners who is also one of the staff veterinarians and owners of Pipestone Holdings, and a good friend of mine, Dr. Evan Cope, who's going to talk to us about an exciting topic today. I was already warned, don't make it too nerdy, but it should be hopefully an interesting talk. Evan, what are you going to tell us about?
Yeah, we're going to talk about a recent meeting I just got back from the American Association of Swine Veterinarians. So it's one of our large conferences that we go to every year. Basically, all swine veterinarians within the U.S. are generally a part of it. Had about, I think 900-ish attendees to it, kind of normal for each year. But yeah, that was held in Las Vegas a few days, so we'll try not to geek out too much on any science stuff.
Katie warned us to not get too in the weeds on science-y type things.
Oh, yeah.
But kind of to frame it up a little bit, there's meetings throughout the year that we would go to, farmers would go to, nutritionists would go to. An example, Layman Swine Conference in the cities. Mm-hmm. There'd be the Iowa State Disease Conference, this AASV conference, which is for veterinarians, but there's a lot of allied industry that kind of float around that at the same time. What's the one in Wisconsin Dells that people go to, North American?
NPIC.
Yeah, NPIC.
Yep.
That'd be a lot of producers would go to that one. Layman Conference, nutritionists, producers, lots of folks would go from around the world. And
yeah, I mean, all those conferences you talked about, really, Layman Swine Conference and NPIC, some of those I'd say are more generalized to where, there's a science component, but there's also something that fits very well for, you'll see production guys there, you'll see producers, just kind of a wide audience that are there. AASV, very scientific driven, and really, just veterinarians would be the main audience that are there. So.
Okay, now I should say I didn't go, and I've entered the hermit phase of my life. I think I'm being put out to pasture slowly, and I don't go to these meetings. I stay home and plow the field while all the fancy people go to the fair. But whatever, I'm just kind of kidding. You went to the meeting, I did not. So when I'm asking you what you learned there, it's truly out of a void of information. I don't know anything that went on there. So why don't you tell us what you learned and what was interesting?
Yeah, we haven't got a chance to catch up after that, but overall, a lot of things brought up that gets us to think further on how do we better attack some challenges or diseases, right? What are some things that we can change maybe in our protocols and processes?
Okay. But break that down a little more. Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so different strategies to take when we talk about, PRRS eliminations and that sense of it. We talked on some PED topics of, there's kind of a push or a movement to try and eliminate PED as a nation, right, as a country. So some folks talking about that with National Pork Board and some other veterinarians as well. So just things like that. Couple new products.
Those two things, I'll just spend a little bit of time on it. You said PRRS elimination, and for the listening audience, a lot of you out there who have got associations with sow farms or have your own sow farm or shares in a sow farm, you might be familiar with this. You eliminate PRRS by basically loading the farm up, exposing them, and then letting the virus burn out. At the end of the program, you're clean, and then you reload with clean animals, and you've got now a negative status versus being a positive or a chronic or whatever status. So what we do it a certain way, but what were the key things that have changed on that, how we do it?
Yeah, essentially the PRRS virus from, 5+ years ago is very different than the ones that we battle today. The strains have changed. They became more persistent. They're more virulent. They're more damaging. They're harder to get rid of, essentially, in the same time frame that we were used to 5+ years ago. So the strategies that we employ today or that we use to get rid of the viruses 5 or more years ago, they can still work, but our success rate on them in that same time frame, about that 35 weeks or so to eliminate, is not as good as what it was a few years back.
I know. We used to be 85% success. Now it's 50 or something less even.
60. Yeah, it really still depends on what strain you get, but it feels like it's far less successful than what it used to be.
So 2 weaknesses I would think, but I wonder what was talked about at the conference. One is need more time, And the other one is, do we have to stimulate immunity differently? Like, do you have to punch them harder with the serum exposure? Do you have to give them how many more weeks of time? What do they come up with for a change?
Yeah, really, there's at the end of the day, it's not like we all get together and we all agree like this is the way that works, right? I chaired one session that my intent, and Dr. Alyssa Betlock was another one. We co-chaired that one together. Our intent on the speakers that we selected was to bring in different perspectives on how they're tackling PERS eliminations, right? And it's not like we take off the gloves and like, oh, who's right?
Yeah,
who's
somebody's going
right?
to win. There can only be one Highlander moment or something.
No. I mean, it's trying to understand different ideas and thought processes and add more tools to our toolbox for going through an elimination.
Okay, so I'm thinking time and immune stimulation are the two big areas, but I'm sure a lot of opinions on that. Okay,
exposure to a couple things, but
PED elimination, which now that we've been living with it for a decade or so. We can get rid of it. An individual self-harm, it's like you don't have to work hard at all to get rid of it from a self-harm. It seems like, compared to PERS. As a nation, are we on the edge of like, I think we can do this, or is there still a lot of resistance to the thought of trying that as a nation to get rid of it?
I think as a nation, we're getting a lot more support to eliminate it or eradicate it as a nation. I think some challenges are still some system designs from obviously before the time of PED and maybe even before PERS was a major issue, that we really got to think through how we can get it out of some of those systems. And I say that because extremely swine dense areas or locations, maybe a lot of girl finished pigs very close to the sow farms and just, once you get into just that pod, it's just such a plume of virus. It's really hard to get out of those areas. Right. But from an industry standpoint, a lot of belief that we can eventually get rid of it from a national herd standpoint, because currently that the amount of herds infected with PED each year, I mean, we're at like 1% to 2%, right? It's
low.
Way
at the sow farm level. The fountain location, where the infected pigs come from, that's fairly low. We could get rid of it. The answer is, can we? Yeah, we can. Do we have the will to? Similarly, you didn't say it yet, but did anybody talk about mycoplasma national programs to eliminate? Because that's similar in interest. Can we get rid of it nationally? Like, we never would have thought that 10 years ago, but I think we're there now.
Yeah, it's amazing where we progressed to. There's an initiative within the state of Minnesota that we're going down a path where we're encouraging elimination, and we think we would have success with it, at least at the state level. There's actually a push to make that part of the swine health improvement program, right?
Yeah.
It's the U.S. SHIP. So that would create it on a national level and at least be able to be herds that are monitored and it's kind of starting down the process to at least start a program for it. That over the years could eventually turn over to, we can use this to create an elimination program.
But were there any sessions on that? Maybe not. I kind of jumped to that thinking maybe there was.
Specifically for like a national eradication for it, there wasn't. We did have it part of our session of just some challenges essentially.
That was
of
the
how
one Natalie, you chaired it. Natalie spoke at it.
Yep,
our Natalie.
Yep.
Okay.
Dr. Judson, she talked at it, and it, great job. But it was really the purpose of like showing how some closures or eliminations fail for mycoplasma. And then, we used Natalie present on a past case that we had of, we plan all this out and a lot of the time this works, and then you get to the final hour and things aren't testing the way they should be. So you got to pivot and kind of change strategy in the heat of it. So,
okay. All right. First, Myco, PED. What else disease-wise came up for any new diseases people are talking about? Any new syndromes or weird clinical cases that people are describing now?
Nothing super new from a disease standpoint. We talked about some discussions on some of the more minor diseases that we've talked about for the last couple of years now, right? Seems like we're maybe getting some vaccines and some things like that. People are starting to play with against them. Astrovirus type 4, right?
Is that a real disease?
I used to think it wasn't, but I think I can say I was maybe one of the helpers that initially found it and with a team at Iowa State and whatnot. I was kind of the one that like, these are flu negative pigs, but they keep coughing. And I kept sending tissues down there. And eventually when we did the shotgun approach to find it, all of a sudden, there was something that we didn't even realize caused respiratory disease. There it was. But in certain farms, seems like it does cause some cough. In other ones, it'll be positive. It doesn't do anything to them. So I don't know. It seems like there's a cofactor, a co-stimuli for it. But
yeah, that's what I put it on the list as a maybe. Like
it's a maybe.
It's not a PERS. But
no,
but it's maybe something.
No, this would be like a weak cousin of flu.
Okay,
that's how I think of it.
Okay. Anything else popping up as new emerging diseases?
New emerging diseases, not really. I was part of one of the influenza sessions or whatever. I had the talk in that one, and some interesting information coming from the USDA in terms of their testing of high-path avian influenza and all of that.
Cut in there. Has anybody ever found high-path avian influenza in commercial pigs? I know there was a case in California, Oregon. There was a backyard pig that was next to all the chickens or something that got
ate the dead chicken or something. Yeah.
But not in commercial pigs that I'm aware of.
No. Hasn't been found in commercial pigs. Within the USDA, they've been sequencing and evaluating a lot of different strains of it to try and see like what changes have to be made that it could jump to a new species or to pigs.
This sounds like Wuhan. Maybe you should stop talking right now. I'm waiting for the escape virus story to happen, and then you broke the story here, Evan.
Yeah. No. Just when they're, it has made the jump, right? The avian influenza used to only affect poultry or birds, and it made the jump over to dairy cattle, right? Yeah. That's a real thing. So they're really looking hard at that virus and what changed to make it jump over to that new species.
What else? Disease stuff move off from that? Anything management-wise or non-disease oriented, welfare-oriented?
Yeah, as I look through a couple notes I had here, one thing, there was a new ileitis vaccine that Zoetis is releasing, so kind of excited with that. That would be an injectable vaccine.
It would be a kind of a direct competitor to the Merck injectable
Porcellus, yeah, correct. There. Yep. So that'll be another option in the market that we didn't have before for an injectable.
Any reason to think it's different than the Merck as far as how it's how it works or how it's applied?
I'd have to compare it side by side on like the duration of immunity and all that stuff. One thing they did show is site reactions, right? They did studies in site reactions, and I think out of the 800 pigs or whatever that was in it, there was like one pig that had a site reaction. Otherwise, the rest of them did not show any of that. So that's
for the normal safety studies when they do when they license a vaccine, they got to throw it out in some pigs and make sure it doesn't do weird things in the pigs before they
kill them all, right?
Or kill them all, yeah. Or reactions. They check for lumps and things like that.
Yep.
Okay, so one new product. There had to have been other new. They always have the tables with the vendors and the new technologies and products. Any technology type things you saw?
No major new technology I saw. I didn't spend a ton of time walking around the tables. I did get pulled into some of the sessions. I had the chair or whatever, so I didn't have a ton of time that way. But I wouldn't say any new earth-shattering technologies today. A couple things on. There was one talk on AI.
Yeah, I'm curious about what that. Who spoke on that, and what were the learnings?
Yeah,
how do we use AI to predict disease? How do we use AI to improve production? There's got to be potential, but we're like a bunch of cave dwellers. We don't know how to use this stuff, right?
Yeah, Daniel Foy presented, and it was sponsored by the National Pork Board. He's the CEO of a company. I can't remember what it is, but they were developing a wearable technology, ear tags, basically for pigs that could monitor and identify movement differences, right? There might have been a temperature component to it as well.
Yeah.
But basically like general behavior. If they're not moving and they're laying down way more often, all that stuff, it could be an early indicator of a disease or something.
Yeah. You could probably put that with the backdrop of ambient temperature to see if it's hot, they'd move less, but then you'd know that at least.
Yep. Or even like, they're at the feeder way more often, right? This was going to be kind of georeference or something that they could tell, their intaking is this high. Maybe we can even like make marketing decisions on them.
So did you see anything either at the tables or in talks related to, for example, PIC's got the selection camera technology that's going to help them get better structure, or cool real-time cameras that would look at a group of pigs and estimate weight super precisely? Anything like that?
In the past, there's been those cameras, and you get all the excitement behind it, like this is going to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even have to go into barns anymore, right? Like they're just going to do their own thing, right? Everything's just going to be automated. It's just going to do its own thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the things I'm referencing with cameras and all of that technology, like you did with weighing them, that was 5 years ago that people were.
Yeah, that's not new.
No, that's not new.
Several years ago now.
But we thought it was going to be this point where it would like take all of our places in how we raise pigs. I'd say that's settled.
But what stops it? What makes that not go where you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I think as studies and people to start working with it, it wasn't as advanced as what we thought it was going to be yet. I think the technology can get there someday. We were expecting to be like, in 5 years, all the barns are going to have this and all that. And
we're
in
supposed
reality,
to be in flying cars by now too.
Yeah,
they said, so.
Yeah. So.
Okay. The pig counter that Romaine makes, I remember that that's not new technology anymore. But the adoption wasn't do it. It's slow, but things like that when they sink in and start working, people use them. But I wonder if that's the progression. It has to take a slower adoption.
Yeah, I think so. And there's always growing pains and bugs that you have to work out with any new technology, right? And that's not something that we can fix in a week. It's something that a lot of the time can take years, right?
Okay.
So.
Any gossip, any rumors? I'm just thinking of stuff that we are in the sessions, but then you go talk to people in the hallways and you find out something happened or things are changing.
You learn more in the hallways than you do in the sessions. Yeah, a lot of time.
So do tell.
Yeah, I mean, two major things. I would say the two most common words I heard was PERS and PD. Mm-hmm. A lot of lateral breaks in the finishing side with PERS right now. Just kind of everywhere, right? That's industry wide, it seems. Had some higher profile, multiplication, things like that have gone down over the last handful of months as well. And then a lot of PED that's coming around.
Yeah. So I operate north of the nuclear zone, and so I don't feel it the same way you would or people that down here along the Iowa border. But PED and PERS, exactly what. And in finishers, I think I talked to several of our other partners and associates that would say the same thing. That I think every finishing site in Iowa's got PERS and PED right now. It felt like. Yeah.
A lot of that going on, and really we'll have to see what the markets show or what goes to market, I should say, over the next few months. But the other thing is like a lot of that, and then in some of those studies we're trying to see, can we eliminate PD from the nation, the national herd, right? Some cool studies coming out on transport biosecurity, right, are just showing how contaminated trailers can get from going to a packing plant.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I remember the one that if they showed up negative, they likely left positive, and they go right back to sit in the yard of some guy, and he lets it sit overnight without really disinfecting it well, then gets pigs on the trailer that go back and forth, and the guys, it's too much crossover.
One study, I can't remember how many trailers they sampled, but it was like 75% of the trailers that were leaving the packing plant would sample positive for
that
PED.
Was the U of M did a study, I think. That was theirs.
Yep.
And I read that. I couldn't remember if it was PED or PERS, but it supports what we already know. We all think that. Those kind of studies are great because they confirm in a way that you can show somebody like, hey,
this is
we
real.
Really should be careful because if that trailer you thought was clean went there, it didn't leave clean, likely.
Yeah. New PERS virus maybe starting to circulate, or a different strain of PERS, Northwest Iowa. But
all viruses come from Northwest Iowa.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Is it? We talk about 144 or 1C3 lineage 1C3 35 or 36. Yeah. What's this one called?
This is a RFLP or whatever. It'd be a 110.4, I think.
110.4.
110.4. Odd cut. I haven't heard of a strain called that long time.
What's special about it? Just bad.
Just bad, right? It's similar to like the 144. It seems, the bad breaks of 144s that we would see. So it's new. We've only have a handful of sites that we've really seen it in yet. But
I'm thinking Northwest Iowa is Wuhan. Yeah, I think that's new stuff comes from there all the time. They're very innovative in their viruses, but.
Yeah, unfortunately, so many pigs around there, and then
a lot of pigs.
So
okay, so maybe a new PERS virus coming out of there. Now that you're back, Evan, what do you think the importance of what you learned is for changing what we do daily? Like you must learn something, come back in our group and says, we should do things different. What is that? What are the few gleanings from that?
One thing we do, those that go and whatnot, is we kind of we jot notes and everything. We kind of compile that and we share that with our group, right? And it may not be exactly like we need to do that versus that, but we start having conversations of of kind of some tidbits of knowledge over over the next couple months, right? On, oh yeah, we can kind of use this idea or this concept to plug into this type of problem that we're having, see if that fixes it or not. It also can stimulate some new research ideas, right? Some things that we're always trying to look for new research ideas to verify or validate solutions to problems, right? If I did something and it worked or didn't work, okay, was that just random chance or was it real, right? Is it so we can take some ideas, put them into controlled studies, and verify if it's random chance or not.
Okay.
The other part of it is just I think exposure to what else is going on in the industry, right? I mean, Pipestone, we operate on the vet service side over quite a bit of the Midwest, right? But a lot of the folks that we talk to day to day, right, are really within our own clinic. This is a way that it broadens to kind of throughout the industry of what are other people doing too.
Yeah, I think we could easily get into too much groupthink or echo chamber type discussions, and we think that what we talk about is the extent of what's out there, and it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Evan, we go to these conferences and we get our credits. It's based on how many hours, right? How many hours of education we get, because you go there and you listen to so many hours of talks, and you go to so many days worth, and pretty soon you get like 8 credits, 5 credits, something that reflects the time you spent learning. And that should validate that, I went and got smarter in some stuff. And the state licensing boards need to know that, right? Yeah,
certainly. It validates that we went to a conference. I didn't just go to Las Vegas for a vacation, right? I was sitting in sessions and actively learning, right? So that's information that I can bring back to my clients and really show that, not only is it what I learned years ago in school, which is, some of that is outdated, right? Here's the changes and trends and different things that is going on out in the industry that we went and learned about, that now we can bring back and apply to our client base.
It is worth noting that a lot of these conferences don't happen in ugly parts of the cold Midwest during winter. They go to places like Vegas or San Diego or someplace, or Florida. One final question. You went to the Eagles concert when you were out there in Vegas. So best part of the Eagles concert?
Honestly, just the Sphere itself.
It was in the Sphere.
Yeah, in the Sphere. So for those that are not aware of what the Sphere is, it's I don't know how many $1 billion it costs, but it's this big sphere, a ball, right? Building. The whole outside is covered in like LEDs, like a whole picture thing and movie and all that. The inside is kind of the same thing. There was a stage where the band was playing, but then just the whole wall, like all the way around you, not behind you, but basically everywhere, above you, everywhere was one huge screen, right? So just super cool. Once you go to a concert and that, it's like, oh man.
Everywhere else,
US
a county
Bank
fair,
Stadium,
county fair stage is going to be really lame.
Yeah. It's like you take a step back, but no, that was really cool.
I'm jealous. That was good. Thank you, Evan, for being a guest on here. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Hopefully you get something meaningful out of this that you could take away and think about and apply and discuss with somebody to grow in your own understanding of how to do things better. The Swine Time Podcast was created for the pork industry and individual pork producers around the country. Hosted by me, Dr. Spencer Wayne with Pipestone Veterinary Services, the podcast contains pork industry news, advancements in animal care, and how to enhance your productivity. Find the Swine Time Podcast at www.pipestone.com or on your favorite listening platform.